I'd love to sit here and say every client I go to is carbon. How do we save the planet? How do we reduce our carbon? 1% says it's carbon. 99% starts with, hey, it's a cost. If somebody's spending £4 million on energy and they're an 80, 90 million pound turnover company, that's a huge percentage of their cost. And it's probably that within their top three. Stakeholders is probably your first point, is don't just engage with one. They leave, go off sick. You need to build up a whole group of stakeholders you're engaging with. What we've been learning over the years is actually now we're presenting to more and more people as we go up into that group. Build the right team with the right people. Team makes you grow. Build a really good team of intelligent people who are passionate about what you do. Not they're just going to follow you. You want people to challenge you. I like people challenging me within the company constructively, but build a team of people that can take it on and move it forward.
Stuart, thank you very much for joining us today. Great to have you on. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your company?
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and thanks for the invite. My name's Stuart Pearce. I'm the Managing Director and founder of SMARTech Energy. We are a sustainability company. We specialise in energy and carbon reduction. That's not the bills, that's the physical kilowatt hours through technology. So we're a business made up of mechanical, electrical engineers that goes out to not just the manufacturing industries, but hotels, education, hospitality. We work with clients to identify how, where, when their energy is used, how much wastage, and then we attack it with technology. So we've got a great USP of 34 technologies I've been finding over the last 12 years, and we're still looking for more technologies, but we go and test them, we make sure they're going to work, and then we create a strategy and we do it for them.
What was the sort of light bulb moment for you to create the company?
Yeah, a little bit of history before this. I was working in another company trying to create this, and before that, the light bulb moment was I was in fuel management, so vehicles, fleets. We used to do some tuning and we had some devices to go on. And one of the problems with that was it's a vehicle. So we would send an engineer out 300 miles up the road at an inconvenient time or a Saturday, the weekend. And guess what? The lorries wouldn't be there. And you do that several times. That was really frustrating. And nobody would ever give you notification, but you got an engineer travelling over doing it. And then kind of the light bulb moment was when an old army contact of mine is in this industry, came down to see me, and I went out and spent a day out doing what I was doing. I went, buildings don't move. So today, in 12 years in the industry, 10 years in this business, we've only lost one building, so it's not too bad.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge today when it comes to businesses becoming more sustainable, lowering their energy usage, cutting their costs?
Knowledge, I'd probably say. I'd say with knowledge. It's a confusing industry if you're not living and breathing it every day as we and my team does. But the knowledge of what do I do? It's a great task. And quite often it's going to be like a health and safety risk and compliance manager that's tasked next tomorrow. You're now the environmental manager, or you're the health, along with health and safety, you're the energy manager. And then they get the next bit of news. We need you to save 20% on our energy. And they're like, what? What do I do? So I think the biggest part then is that journey of where do I go? So they might go to a seminar, or they've been to a show, or they might go somewhere and they've read a bit or watch YouTube. And then they scratch their head and work out where to go. And so I think the biggest part really is knowledge, the know-how. What do I do? What's the stages? How do I go forward? And in reality, that starts with energy monitoring. But the problem by putting energy monitoring as sub-level monitoring in detail to a client is there's a whole raft of different options to do that. But then they don't think about the part of, well, who's going to actually analyse the data? What do I know about analysing the data? What is the data? And it's very complex. And we work with some really big manufacturers, £4 or £5 million a year spent on energy, down to smaller clients. But where is that energy being used? So it is knowledge. And then from knowledge, it becomes skill. And, a lot of companies we find they've got skill in the business, but they're not skill within the industry. And then the confusion is, like I said, we've got 34 technologies. So what do I throw at it? Okay, and we'll come to what we built a bit later on as in a project versus a program. And so what we've really found with our USP is let's go and do it for a client. Let's go and help them. And let's take them on that journey of energy reduction. The interest, as in energy monitoring 6-7 years ago, it was really hard to sell. People just didn't get it. People didn't stay using it. They just went back to doing their day job. So that was quite difficult. And in the last 2 years since the energy crisis, it's certainly becoming easier. People are understanding, okay, I've got to measure it first, but then they don't know what to do next.
Do you feel that now that more people are interested in it, do you feel that's as a consequence of extra compliance coming out? Or do you feel that it's people are actually genuinely interested in doing this now?
There's more coming into the industry, as in suppliers, implementers, but equally at the same time, there's quite a few people going out of it. I think the main one is cost. I'd love to sit here and say every client I go to is carbon. How do we save the planet? How do we reduce our carbon? 1% says it's carbon. 99% starts with, hey, it's a cost. If somebody's spending £4 million on energy and they're an 80, £90 million turnover company, that's a huge percentage of their cost. And it's probably within their top three. Generally, it's within their top three on their P&L, costs of where they are. So it's more about driving costs. One of our little mottos is, well, save energy, save money, save carbon. And unfortunately, that is the third one. But if you save energy directly, you're going to save money and you're going to save carbon. So we're going to get there. We just have to do it around what it needs to be. I think the drive is compliance. It is right. It's getting better compliance. It's increasing. The Environment Agency running the ESOS program. When that kicked off, 2014, 2015, the first report, I think it was probably a very small skeleton team. They didn't have the infrastructure to cope. We've just finished round 3 of ESOS, and now they've got a bigger team. Now they're taking more action. We're certainly getting more traction of people going, oh, I didn't realise I had to do that. Environment Agency being better. It's got ESOS, you've got SECR, Streamlined Energy Carbon Reporting. That's not mandated, as in nobody's checking it's being done. It's in the company accounts, so that's still a little bit weak in the marketplace. But obviously, there is a focus on larger companies, manufacturers, and that's coming from top down. So when I say top down, we work in the food manufacturing sector, and some clients has been with us 10 years doing the 3 rounds of ESOS. We've now moved on to doing their net zero program. So we launched a net zero program only November last year. And that's about not just buying a bit of software and plugging it in, because actually it's really complex. One of our clients, 505 staff, 156 million turnover, growing really, really well. Now they've got to do compliance. Now they've got to look at net zero. And that's because people like, I don't know, supermarkets, should we say, not naming one particular supermarket, but they're giving them pressure top down. And they're saying, well, we need you to have a net zero sustainability plan. Well, what is your target date? How much are you using? What's our scope 3? And that's scope 3 is the biggest impact with the Streamlined Energy Carbon Reporting, because they're coming downstream and they're coming down to that manufacturer and saying, well, what is the impact? Because we've got to measure it. That is having some effects, but it's at the very top end. Over the next 5 years, 10 years, it will come down throughout the size of businesses.
I speak to a lot of sustainability business leaders, and quite a number of them are saying is now they're starting to find it much easier to sell on the other benefits of their product as opposed to the sustainability. And the sustainability part of it comes as almost like a byproduct of it.
Yeah.
I think you're starting to see more of the industry realize that and move into changing their messaging a little bit for B2B.
Now, I'd probably say with what you're saying there was kind of an uprising around the COVID time, and the uprising being people that's got no background realistically in sustainability, energy reduction, all of a sudden creating software platforms and creating software to cater for Streamlined Energy Carbon Reporting, or ESOS, and then they were trying to get into this space. There was people who were like marketeers or selling event stands, one company I can think of. Next thing, we now do, SECR reports, scope 1, 2, and 3. And it's kind of going, well, okay, you've done it because there's an opportunity. Well, I wouldn't say they always had everything behind them. And that's where we come in slightly different. We're more passionate about reducing energy, using mechanical, electrical, and just doing good engineering is where I come from. So we're now going, well, we've also got that skill side to do the carbon reduction side, the net zero. And it's a great journey. We're with our first client now, where we're doing weekly meetings on site, and we've got a team of 6 of them as their green team. But it literally is taking them through, right, we need to fill out these templates. What's the target? And it's managing them through that process, because it opens a lot of questions within their own businesses. Oh, we didn't think of that. Oh, okay, how do we change that? And what we're trying to do is bring in automation in behind them and say, well, okay, we're going to manually do it this year, but our IT side of the business here is going to automate that for the future. So that data, because this data starts now, but it's going to be forever. You're going to have to pull out the same data. So let's just automate it.
So talking about teaching them then, giving them that knowledge, as you said earlier, you feel like a big part of this is the lack of knowledge in the industry. I guess with, say, for technologies and constantly looking out for more, how do you balance offering new solutions like that with making sure that people understand what that means and trusting what you're doing?
I mean, for the business, we have 3 marketplaces we go after. Okay, to answer this, we've got our energy consultancy part of the business. We've got projects. So somebody, for what you're saying there, says, hey, so we just brought a new technology in from America. It's 25 years old. We've signed the UK distribution rights for it. Cryogen X4 is a product that goes into refrigeration air conditioning systems. And basically, it improves linear flow and heat transfer. They've got like 700-800 case studies across air conditioning, chillers, and refrigeration. Brilliant. Great product. Got it in some of our clients in the UK already now. But there's not much competition on the market, but it's still, how do we get that knowledge into the client? How do we prove the savings? There's a lot of difference between America and the UK in temperatures, humidity, but also weights and measures. It's about education. Sometimes it's about proof of concept, trialing it, putting in it, showing them it works for them. So down our projects route, yes, we have to educate through brochures, through visiting sites and talking to clients, giving them business case studies or energy management surveys, reports on how they can make savings. Then have as a third arm of the business, and probably answer this better, is what I've learned over the last 12 years in this industry and 10 years with SMARTech Energy is that when we used to create strategies and reports for clients, we used to do like 4 or 5 pages on one technology. What I've actually learned is now we do 2 paragraphs. A lot of people do not want to go heavy into what technology is. So what we try to do is build a partnership and build trust with that client. They just trust us to do it. They want to know the general idea of what it was. 10 years ago, LED lighting was still fairly new to the marketplace, and it was LED tubes, retrofits, opposed to whole linear fittings. Where today now, well, you just go and buy a light, it's going to be an LED fitting, but it's taken 10, 15 years to get us to this point. Okay, so as we have all this technology, it does confuse people. An average site has 8 to 12 technologies in any of our programs that's going in. So in our third option, we offer a shared saving program where actually what we're doing is, Mr. Client, we're going to go and put energy monitoring in. We're going to carry out all the consultancy surveying work, and we're going to build a strategy. And in that strategy, we are giving them a couple of paragraphs to start with on a technology. And if they want to go deep dive into more, there's a couple of pages on it, or we can supply that information. What we're finding with that program is a lot of them going, as long as we've got confidence that you're not going to disrupt what we do as a business, we're not going to reduce the output, maybe increase it, that's a bonus. They actually then sign up for us to go ahead and do it. And when I say go ahead and do it, is we've done the monitoring, we've got the data analysing that, we've got the strategy, and we've got the returns, and we know where we are then. They actually then want us just to implement it. So then we're installing it. Then we're building and designing it and developing it as we're going. What we actually do is we prove all of our savings. So through our EAS Energy Efficiency as a Service program, we are actually proving the savings. So when we finish, we then take a month of proving it through IPMVP, and then every 12 months, we're reproving it. And we sit with the client for 10 years on a program where we're doing this for them. They get a guaranteed energy saving, but actually what they don't want, and this goes back to your health and safety, now environmental energy manager, is they just don't have enough bandwidth. They've got to deal with health and safety, and that's what they really like doing. Do I have bandwidth to do this? So if we come in as that trusted energy partner, actually we're doing it for you. We're giving you all the kudos. You can take all of that. You can take 100% of the carbon savings because we believe the client should have that. But actually what you're doing is we're doing the hard work, the mechanical, electrical side. We're managing it, maintaining it. So we're taking away some of that requirement then, to answer your question. We are educating them to a degree, but most people do not want to know every single detail about the technology. If you're putting a guarantee in place and you've given them confidence and you've built a partnership with them and trust, just go and do it. We had an engineering company in Swindon recently, guaranteed them 20% savings electrically, rolled through the program, and we identified 27% savings in the first stage. We then installed all of that technology, got it all working for them, and we're actually at 30.58% savings at the end of the program, end of rolling it out. Now we just manage that. But what we now do is look at stage 2. How do we go get them another 15% savings? So sometimes they don't want to know everything, Chris, to answer your question. They want confidence. You're not going to disrupt them. You're not going to break them. You're not going to stop production. They just want the reassurance that actually you know what you're doing, and then when you prove it, moving forward.
So you mentioned that you've worked with some pretty big clients at this point. What advice would you give to other sustainability companies about landing those larger contracts? At that point, you'd have lots of different stakeholders, lots of different departments need to sign off. There's a lot of communication. What's worked really well for you?
Stakeholders is probably your first point, is don't just engage with one. They leave, go off sick. You need to build up a whole group of stakeholders you're engaging with throughout the program. And at the same time, what we've been learning over the years, and our shared saving program we only rolled out in 2020, started it right in COVID, is actually now we're presenting to more and more people as we go up into that group. So you get into your health and safety manager or whoever you're working with, but let's go and present to the whole board. Let's present to the whole team that's going to be working with and get everybody on the journey. So the more people on that journey earlier on, the easier the process is. Clients is very difficult to find. It's a very difficult part because, there's lots of companies out there, but they're all at different stages and they're never truly telling you where they are in the stage of what they're doing. They're only telling you what they want to tell you. Client engagement, stakeholders, get as many as you can, and keep it simple, stupid. Keep the KISS idea. We've revised our proposals and how we do it. Like I say, we used to give like 4 or 5 pages on a technology, and now we're down to a few paragraphs backed up by 1 to 2 pages, which generally have got charts and proof in there. So keep it simple so they understand it. What we have learned and is working a bit better is after you've done the main proposal, just giving them a one-page summary. If they got a one-page summary, I was reading Jeff Bowser's book, I reference Amazon, and he has this policy where his managers come in with ideas, they've got to do it on one page. So perhaps that's people's bandwidth and time and resource. I want to look at this, and is it a yes or a no? So client acquisition is difficult, but once you get that client, also working with them for as long as you can. We don't find we need hundreds of clients a year. What we need is some very good clients that you can keep working with. And then you can build across their other sites that they've got. Multi-site clients are much better for us than somebody who's got one site. But once you've proved it in one area, hey, let's go and look at the other sites.
So Nate Nasrallah is someone that does enterprise sales, and he talks about a one-page business case, which is really similar to what it sounds like you do. I guess when it comes to speaking to other stakeholders, how is it you get them involved in the conversation? Is it that one person from a company gets in touch with you and then you apply to them and start speaking to the other stakeholders, or do you wait for the introduction?
I think in our game, you need to be as much outbound as inbound. So if they're downloading a brochure on the website, just reach out and get in contact. Have they got the information? They've downloaded a brochure. Did they get the brochure? Does it all come through fine? Does it make sense? Do you need some help? Generally, that's what they're looking for. People are out there looking for help. They're going, I don't know what I'm doing. I want some help. So just throwing that question out there. Did you get your brochure? Do you need some help? Here's my calendar. Jump on my calendar and set up a meeting. Great little one there, and that works well. And I think then once you've always got to get that first person involved that's going, okay, bought in, I like what you're doing. I'm now confident to take you to the rest of the business because I've done my research. But then that is also working with them to guide them and saying, hey, we need your finance director involved. We need the MD. We need to get the right people involved on this. Get your head of engineering involved and bring them into that meeting because they will make your life easier to sign this off and to move forward through the contracts if we've got everybody in the room. And equally, our time is precious as much as everybody's time is precious. So you don't want to waste anybody's time. So you want to get in there, hit and present it at once. And then it's just guiding them. It's guiding them through because I think through the client journey, they're also learning that part about they've just been told they're an energy manager or environmental manager for that company and they've got to save 20%. They're not just talking to us, they're talking to other people. But we have a USP of, I'm going to give you guaranteed savings and you're going to get paid that every single year. We're not just going to give you guaranteed savings. We're going to do it for you. And, especially in larger sites that's got their own maintenance and facilities teams, they're already busy doing their day-to-day job. Their job is about getting that product out off the line, keeping the machines running, opposed to doing programs and projects to save energy. One other skill over the years, hopefully I'm getting it right, but I've learned is you got to read the room and colours, the 4 different colours I quite like. There's no point sat in a meeting talking completely technical to a finance director who isn't technical, who just wants to talk about finances. How's it going to prove his bottom line is profit? So you've got to try and read everybody in the room and then how is it going to make their life easier? How is it going to tick their box or get their bonus or whichever way they're going to go? What is there? What's in it for them ultimately?
It's interesting what you said there, actually. The fact that you said you will do it for them rather than giving them the information for them to do it themselves. What you are finding right now in the marketing space is so many people are trying to sell information and courses and data as opposed to actually doing the work themselves. And it's almost like agencies are becoming more like consultants. And that is pretty much the opposite of what companies want. Companies don't want more checklists and more information to add to their already overstretched, under-resourced teams, right? They want someone to come in and actually do this work for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really big missed opportunity for so many B2B companies.
It's bandwidth and time, Do you go and employ more people? In our industry as energy and carbon reduction, there's a skill shortage. There's a lack of people that can do it. Innovation's a word I've not used yet, but, we're innovators in the marketplace. We go in, I've got a client up north I was with last week, and we just went up to present to the finance director, MD, risk and compliance, head of engineering, and done 2 hours on site to do a monitoring survey and how many opportunities and what guaranteed savings we would offer this client. They're spending £3.8 million a year on energy, on electric and gas. They're a decent manufacturer, turnover about 80 odd million. When we went there, they came in just looking for energy monitoring. We haven't signed the deal yet, but they're just looking for energy monitoring. And I've come back and said, look, I can give you a price for energy monitoring, but I can educate you on that. But who's going to do the work? Who's going to analyse the data of 30, 40 channels of data? Who's going to know what you're looking at? We live and breathe and eat this day in, day out. This is what we're passionate about as consultants and as my team is. So I took it from, here's a quote for monitoring, and there's a quote for monitoring. So I've given, an option for that. But actually, what if we can come in and do it all for you? What if I guarantee you 10% gas savings? And I didn't have enough time to go into the machines, but I'll guarantee you 15% on electric from what I could see. That's the minimum guarantee I'm going to get you. But actually, we're probably going to get you 20%, 15, 20% or more savings on that site. The feedback after presenting from there has been, the other quotes are all coming just about monitoring. We asked for monitoring and that's all we've got. But actually, we know we've now identified we don't have the knowledge, the skill, manpower to do this in the business. And actually, you're saying what? There's no reoccurring costs at 30 grand a year for the monitoring support. Okay, that's all built into the program. I like this. So we're not signed off on that deal yet, but we're taking those steps forward. And I think that's the difference. Is we're innovating. We'll then go to those type of sites. We're lucky, understand it, and then we just design and build our tech into it. We'll design some control strategies. We'll make those savings. And we're doing that through good engineering and just nudging them forward to making those marginal gains add up to big gains is the way I look at this industry. Doing them for you opposed to here's homework you can go and do. They don't want that.
What do you think is one common mistake you've seen sustainability companies making when they're trying to grow?
On the larger scale of the industry, and it's one I don't like. So in our energy efficiency service shared saving model, that's a reoccurring long-term contract for 10 years. So we take a share of the savings, yeah? So we take between 25% and 70% of the savings, depends whether they invest or we do all the investment. So we will put all the money into the program, but we're going to take a risk versus reward. What I probably don't like in the industry, and there is some companies doing as a service, so it might be lighting as a service, for example. And probably the part I don't like, I like slow and steady, long-term sustainable income. These other companies will go out, they do all the work, they will then go and sell that contract off and take out 85% of the money because the other 15% is the interest costs or, so they're bringing the whole contract forward. And I kind of look at it as in farming, you've constantly got to be farming, planting new seeds to grow it. So you've got to go and find new clients all the time. And what we're gradually building up is a client base, which are on this program, that if the utility rate adjusts, we're going to take a little bit more money out of them. But I find some new technology or we find some new know-hows and more experience as we've been going on other sites, we bring it back into the other clients so I can increase the amount of income over time. So we're trying to increase them a couple of % year on year. But when you go out and you sell a load of kit and you take it over 7 years, you've done all the install, but then you just sell that off. You get to a point where you're growing as a company, you bring more headcount on, but you get a bad time of not getting enough sales in or some problems that's kicking you in the backside over here. But what they've done, they've already had all the money. And generally, as all that money's come in, they've spent all that money. And for me, my principle is generally try not to sell too much far ahead. Try and build your cash reserves and build your sustainable income. Eventual goal in the next 12 to 18 months is that your day one of opening the business and the doors and all the team and all the costs is already covered on day one of the business. That's my creme to creme goal type of thing.
What were one of the things you tried in 2024 for growth that didn't work out well?
Truthfully, marketing agencies. 100%. We try to marketing. We get leads in, but we don't get hundreds of leads. A good week for us is 5 to 7 leads, but they're good leads. So we wanted to grow that so we could grow quicker. And we had all these marketing companies come to us and say, we could do this. We can guarantee you this many leads, this many meetings. So I made some bad decisions, and we do make bad decisions. So we learn from bad decisions. I signed up one company and they were like, no, we can get you 50 meetings in 6 months. And in their contract, always read the contract. The contract stated, pro rata of whatever they didn't get, you could either at the end of the 6 months extend with no extra cost, or you could pro rata get a refund to what it was. I'll say company A, I won't name the companies. They got 0 meetings.
Wow.
0 meetings. So we went through, and they were a nightmare. I tried getting meetings with them. I had 2 meetings with somebody that didn't even know anything we were doing, basically, and it was terrible. I waited out the contract, kept saying, can we support? What more information do you need? We've done all the onboarding, but you've still got us nothing. Can I get an update? Can I get an update? And it just was terrible. And after 6 months, we sent them an email requesting a full refund. It got nowhere, went through the normal terms, and we took them to court. And we've now given them a CCJ. That's company number 1. So don't fall over once you've been hit once. Get back up again. Let's go again. Yeah, we're in business. We're entrepreneurs. So we go with company 2. Now, these guys were better. I will say that. Okay. May not turn up to every meeting on time or may have delayed an hour or 2 or maybe a day, but actually we had weekly meetings with them. And we worked more closely to down test and adjust being ex-military, but adjust to try and get the marketing better. But in 4 months, they got us 6 meetings, 6 leads. Don't know if all of them went to meetings, actually, thinking about that. That was a sales team. Only one of them stands out on the top of my head that was a real perfect client for us. Okay. And after 4 months, we were putting time in every single week to help and support them. They had all the reporting systems and they were trying, but it's a really difficult industry to get into the right people. So what failed in 2024? We spent good money on growing our sales and marketing as in a team, people, and also trying to get third parties to work with us. So that was a doing. We just talked about the previous question. We wanted a company that would just do what it says on the tin, would just go and get us those meetings of the right clients that qualified. So we're a bit adverse against it. So, okay, what did we do? We went out and got a new marketeer inside the business. Somebody who's very digital focused opposed to PR focused side. Slow and steady, that's working. Content's getting better. It's more digital on there. We've got a long way to go, but, the website's upgraded bit by bit. Brochures upgraded, and we got better capability inside. I just don't know if I trust any agency that says, hey, I can get you this many meetings a week. So yeah, I'd probably say that's probably the biggest part in 2024 that had a negative impact on the business. It's the time and effort. It's not just the money you pay these companies. It's the time that we invest into it, because it's time that we're not doing other activities.
You are not the only person to say they've had trouble with marketing agencies. I think it's becoming quite a big thing in the industry now, where so many people can start an agency, and they do, without necessarily having the experience or the knowledge to be able to run it. What, in your opinion, do you feel like caused those two failures?
I think company one just didn't put the effort in, didn't do the work. Right. I did a bit of research before and probably jumped the gun, and I didn't do enough due diligence. I tried to get through to the people they recommended, didn't get them. And they just didn't do the doing is part of it. Marketing is doing consistency in some ways. I'd probably say the second company was overcommitted probably to too many clients. And like you say, they had some experience, but not enough experience. And we all talk ourselves up at times. And their expectations of what, and don't get me wrong, we're giving them at the start of this is what we would like. They're coming back and giving us this is what we will put in place, and this is our targets, this is what we'll guarantee and we'll save you, or we'll get you as leads type of thing. So, and I don't know. So, for us, it's saying, actually, do we do it more in-house? And we are slowly. And the quality leads by doing it internally, no disrespect to marketeers, but it's definitely improved. Some of the clients we're talking to now in the last 2 months, 3 months coming in are the ideal, perfect clients starting to come in. Slow and steady.
It's not just a return on investment, it's a return on effort. If you're having hour-long weekly meetings with them, that's an hour of your time gone. Yeah. You could be spending on much higher leverage things, working with current clients to improve their retention, their income, whatever it might be. I think a lot of people forget that. Final question for you. If you had one piece of advice to another leader growing their sustainability business, what would it be?
I still believe it's people. Mine would be build and grow the right team. We've lost good people over the time, whether that's engineers, installers, etc., or people internally. And I'd probably just say that's maturity of your business as you go along. Because sometimes you reflect back, 10 and a half years now as a business operating, and I look back at, we've had some real rubbish staff. They were just poorly recruited, so I have to take that on myself or whoever recruited them. But equally, we've had some amazing staff, and then because of their own life journey, they've moved on somewhere else. Or because we didn't have something set up in the business that we then learned to do later on. So it's kind of build the right team with the right people. Team makes you grow. We've tried to shortcut things, or we've tried to go take a grad on and take them through that program, or an apprentice, and actually consider that as well to your team size, because by bringing on grads or apprentices, I do advocate it when you've got the right team of people that can support it, but it can also suck your time up if you're a very small team. Different ages of people nowadays, millennials, etc., and Z-Gen and all this sort of stuff, they're different to what your age group might be. So you've got to respect that and understand that with who you're recruiting. Build a really good team of intelligent people who are passionate about what you do. Not they're just going to follow you. You want people to challenge you. I like people challenging me within the company constructively, but I build a team of people that can take it on and move it forward. I'm not an academic, so I've got lots of more intelligent people than I am in the business. I'm an engineer by trade. So, I appreciate that and like that, but I want people to challenge me. So build the right team, get the right people on, but have the right structure in behind. So they're not going to leave you, retain.
Stuart, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure. Do you have anything else to say before we finish up?
No, Chris, thanks for inviting us to the podcast. First one I've done. Appreciate it.